Welcome to Surviving the Canadian Winter 101. Check your schedules, make sure you're in the right room. No, we're here to do the Wandering Sketchbook today. And this is a shortened version of the Wandering Sketchbook to get you ready to go for your Christmas trips or your holiday trips or your trip to the mall, wherever you happen to be going and you want to do a little sketching. So this is just a little refresher, pick me up. And I hope that, I'm looking around the room, I see a lot of people that were here before, but I'm also seeing a lot of new faces, which is really kind of cool. Don't tell me if somebody was saying, bad things about me, and that's why you came to see if I was really not like that. Just tell me if they were saying nice things. So we will, and I wrote this down, somebody else said it, not me. We're learning to take pictures, not with your phone, but with your sketchbook. So we have our telephones with us, except I don't always have mine with me, all the time, 24/7, whatever we're doing, and we're forever taking pictures. When was the last time you looked at your pictures? When was the last time you went on a trip and reviewed your pictures? Probably. When we do this, we go out into the world and we find a place and we find something that we like and we sketch it and it's in our book and we come home and we show our friends and family and we say, look, this is where we were. And the first thing they do is like, oh my God, you drew something? Yeah. And then you start having a conversation about it and it's kind of cool, kind of fun, it's a little different. And you can make little notes and you can do all kinds of things with it. So that's what we're practicing. Now, at this time of the year, we can't really go outside, so we're not gonna have any of those sketching in the wild days. It's kind of cold out there. Not that you can't go yourselves, I just won't be going because I don't like the cold. But what we're going to be using are reference photos, and we're going to learn, hopefully from the reference photos, how to figure out how to put what we see in our book. So the first thing we do is we have our reference photos, and we practice it. And I guess what I want to say is you gotta take a little bit of a leap with me and pretend you're looking out a window or pretend you're sitting in a cafe or pretend you're sitting somewhere. And I hope you can do that because it will help you in the future. Okay, so I'm looking at these notes and I'm thinking, why did I say that first and not that? I mean, anyway. So we need to figure out how to get it on the page. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm drawing is I like to define the space that I'm working in. Because what happens so often to us when we're drawing things and sketching things is that we have all the good intentions of the world, and then we get to the other side of the page and oh my gosh, we've run out of room. So the first thing that we're going to do is define our space within our space. So in case you run out of room, you've already got a little bit of extra room. So if this is my sketchbook page, I'm going to go and draw a line around my page, and that now is going to become the spot that I'm going to draw in. And then we look at things a little bit differently. And these are going to be some art terms, and I'm going to throw them out real fast so you don't have to memorize them. But we look at composition. And how do we get our composition on the page? Well, it's a magic rule called the rule of thirds. By the way, I had to get a new sketchbook, those of you that have been taking this with me for a while. My old black sketchbook is full, and I had to get a new one, so I got to put new stickers on it. So, the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds has to do with putting things on the page in threes. Now, why threes, you say?
Why threes? Thank you for that.
The funnier I am, the more you're going to get out of it. So the rule of thirds is because we as human beings like things in threes. So just take a second and think about things in threes. And I'm going to say a few things. And you shout out some of you if you can think of something. So there's like 3 strikes are out, the 3 bears, a 3-leaf clover, a 3-ring circus, 3 amigos, 3 meals a day, a triangle, a tricycle, the 3 stooges, 3rd time's a charm, beginning, middle, and end, rock, paper, scissors. All these threes turn up in the world. So it only makes sense that we like 3. So we're going to do what we do, or start what we do, with a 3. And the 3 is going to be to divide our page in 3 vertically and 3 horizontally. And as we start, I'm going to ask you to put that in your book. Now, we're not doing anything yet, I'm just talking. But we're going to divide, and I'm sorry I have to put my back in, but I can't kind of get my measurements unless I turn around. So we're going to divide vertically by 3 and horizontally by 3. And these spaces, we're hoping are going to be roughly the same size so that we've divided that space nicely. Now the thing about composition in the rule of thirds is when we're putting things on the page, we want our rock star, the thing that we want everybody to look at, to be in one of these sweet spots. If we can get the rock star, the thing we want everybody to look at, somewhere here, we're going to like our picture better. We're going to feel better about it. Everybody looking at it is going to feel good about it. I'm going to save the rest of this just for a few minutes because there are some new people here. We do have to talk about our sketching kits. Now, just so you don't think I'm just, a whole bunch of words, this is my actual bag that I carry around with me all the time. And in my bag, I have my sketching kit. Exactly the one that you guys have, which, by the way, I'm going to say this over and over, and Sandra keeps telling me I say this too much, but I buy stuff at the dollar store. This sketching kit came from the dollar store. Isn't that cool? Really? I wouldn't kid you about that.
It cost you $4.
This, not the book,
Oh, not this one.
not that book, but this in here. And so if you open yours up, inside, you will see a whole bunch of pencils. Now, you're not going to see that in mine because I've seen mine. Inside, you will see a whole bunch of pencils. We're not going to use all of those pencils. In fact, I would recommend taking those pencils and putting them someplace safe. You can slide them in behind the sketchbook that's there. Or I would recommend just taking them out and putting them someplace safe in the house, because you're going to want to come back to the atelier program and you're going to need them for that. So just put them aside for now. You do have in your kit that I gave you a pencil. And please take your mechanical pencil out and have a look at it, especially on the side of it. It says, can anybody see it? Summer Hay Studio, what? These things are going to be collector's items. So I like these pencils when we're sketching because we don't have to worry about having a pencil sharpener with us. And believe it or not, there's more lead inside. So if you run out, we just take the end off, you get a little bit more lead, you feed it back in. So you're never without a pencil. Even if your pencil breaks, you can get more lead. So that's why I like to use mechanical pencils for this. You're also going to find a fine line black marker. That marker is black, it's archival, it's waterproof. We are going to be using some watercolors, and so we don't want the black to run into our picture. We want it there if we want to outline something, if we want to put an extra shadow. Who's that?
That was Kathy Sue.
Who?
That was Kathy Sue.
How'd she get in there?
She belongs to the church.
Yeah, but how did she get in there?
I mean,
Back door to here for a while.
Like, you can't get in there from anywhere else but there, unless she came in the door.
She's got a main door, I think.
I'm sorry, that was just a little weird. Where was I now? Oh, yeah.
We're talking about our pencils.
Talking about I'm sorry, I was talking about the black markers, right,
Oh, black.
the black markers. So the black markers are what we will use to outline our drawings as we're going through. Now, it's an option. You can outline or not outline, but you have it there. And the third thing you have in there is a water barrel brush. Now I'm going to grab somebody's here. So some of them are longer, and some of them are shorter than others. By the way, dollar store. You get them in a package of 2. So what we need to do for this, when we get to this point, is we need to fill the barrel with water, and then when we're ready to put paint on, we squeeze the barrel, the water comes through onto the brush, you go to your excellent watercolor palette. It's very expensive too. Dollar store. And then so you don't need to carry around a bottle of water or anything like that. Now, I will tell you it's a little tricky. You have to think from the perspective of the brush. So you might be thinking, oh, I just turn this way and it comes out. No, 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 no. The brush wants you, well, okay.
That one's opposite from the other one.
This is a good one. Let me see here.
Yeah, this one good.
I find the larger ones are actually perfect.
The larger ones
Normal.
are normal.
It's the smaller ones that weren't.
The smaller ones, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Here I had a whole routine worked up about that. So anyway, if you have one of the smaller ones, you have to turn it the opposite direction in order for it to open. You go into the bathroom, or there's a sink in the back there, or there's a sink in the studio. Just hold it under the water, maybe squeeze it once, let it fill up with water, put it back on, remember to turn it the other way, and you're all set to go, okay? Everything that you have will fit inside this little kit, including your watercolors. You can put them on, they will stay in there, provided you take out your pencils. You don't need to carry them with you. Now, there is another sketchbook there. We're going to be using the black sketchbook. There's another sketchbook. You got notice that? This one. And I have a special thing for you to do with this one. So, in order to become a good sketcher, you need to sketch every day. So I'm going to recommend that you take this book and dedicate this to doing a sketch every day of anything. Now, I don't want you to spend a lot of time, and I recommend you spend between 3 and 5 minutes at the most with this sketch. Now, if you can't think of something to sketch, if you're sitting there drinking your coffee and you've drawn your coffee cup about 4 times and you're bored, on the computer on Facebook, there is a Facebook page called Daily Drawing Challenge. Every day, they post a different picture. And some of them are pretty wacky, and some of them are pretty straightforward. And all I suggest is that you go, look at the picture. If you like it, that's your sketch for the day. If you don't like it, sketch something else. But if you sketch every day, from today until the end of the class, I guarantee that you will be 50% better than you are today. Guarantee. Money back guarantee, in fact. I will give you your money back that you paid for this class. You already want your money back?
What can I say? What's the difference between sketching and doodling?
Oh, I thought you were going to say the other D word. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between sketching and doodling. I think doodling, a lot of times just involves making circles and squiggles and lines.
More abstract.
But if you're doodling and you're doodling something, like a dog or a cat or a little person or whatever, that counts. Yeah. The difference between sketching and drawing, sketching is really something that we do quickly, we have fun with it, we're capturing a moment, we're capturing an emotion, a feeling, a movement. Drawing takes a bit longer. To do one drawing can probably take you about 6 weeks, as some of you will attest to that were in my last atelier class. So it will take you a little bit longer. But sketching is meant to be fun and just to go out and do something, have some fun with it. Okay? So I'll put that on the board here someplace, daily drawing challenge. All right, I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Okay. Let me consult my exhaustive notes here. Okay, really quickly, I'm gonna zip through the next part, and then we're gonna get started. The format today is really going to be, we're going to do one sketch together. I'm gonna go through all the parts, and then the next one's gonna be just a little bit more difficult, but I will take you through all the parts and how to get it on there. We're gonna talk a little bit about the color wheel and why we have the color wheel and what we use it for. And hopefully, I mean, we may not get through two of them, because the first couple take us a little bit longer to get done. But hopefully, we'll get close to it. So, just a couple of things.
Hey, Chris. Exits.
If there's a reason for us to leave quickly, there's an exit through the kitchen door at the back. There's an exit behind that curtain where that crazy person did stick their head out. Apparently she got in that way, we can get out. There's a door that we came in over here, and there's the door out front. Now, that door out front is locked, but it's very easy to close off, and you can get out. The bathrooms are through there and to the left. The studio is behind me, and you're welcome anytime to go get drinks or whatever you want in there. There's no money, so don't even look. Just a couple of things really quickly. I came up with this the last class, and I kind of like it. And it's primarily because we went to Australia. So I call it ODD. Well, it stands for Analyze, Understand, and Draw. Well, we're not drawing right now, so we have to change this to an S. So it's ODD, not ODD. Analyze, understand, and sketch. So we're going to analyze, in this case, our reference. What's in the picture? What do we see? We're going to understand what's in the picture, because remember, we're not really drawing things, we're drawing shapes. So what shapes do we see? How do we compare those shapes to other shapes in the drawing, in the sketch? And finally, we're going to do our sketch. When we start sketching, we move from very simple, big picture ideas to medium ideas to details. So we don't start with all the details first. We try to get everything on the page, and then we move on. Yes, always when we're drawing, and the analyzing part of sketching and drawing is really important because you need to analyze what you're doing. Spend a lot of time looking at your reference. Compare. Is this window the same height as the eave, or is it as big as the tree? Where does the person fit in? All that kind of stuff. And I will be reinforcing this as we go, so don't worry. For the first little while, I'm going to suggest that we start with pencil. As you get more experience doing this, you can just be sketching with your pen, which is a lot of what I do. I just sketch with my pen, and I'm not too worried about making mistakes. And I know that some new sketchers are sometimes a little bit worried. So I'd like you to use your pencils. You do have an eraser, and by all means, erase. There's nothing worse than having lines on the page that you don't like, or that don't fit, or that aren't right. And I know we grew up when we, were taking art classes at school, and we had 50 minutes, and you had to do something, and you had to work really fast, and you weren't allowed to use the eraser, and when you were done, you handed it in, and it got marked, and then you moved on and did math, and we're not doing that here. We're gonna take our time. We're gonna have some fun with it. If it turns out you don't like this drawing, rip it out. Scribble over it. Go on and do another one. This is not something, I promise you, all of you already have an A. If that's what you're worried about, I have already given you an A. Now, the only way you can get a lower mark is to like not laugh at my jokes. Other than that, you're golden. Okay, not laugh at my jokes. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna move this out of the way. So, unless there are some other questions, we're gonna get started. So the first sketch we're going to be doing is this cottage by the water. Now, a lot of, almost all of the pictures that we do are pictures that I've taken during our trips. So I thought that this is Page Cove, but we had a little discussion today, and somebody reminded me that there aren't a lot of mountains in Page Cove. So we kind of decided that this must be Scotland. And I think that's right. I think that's what it is. In any case, so the first thing we do is we look at the reference, and you all have the reference in front of you as well. And I've drawn some lines already on here to help you with the rule of thirds. So this line comes down right along the edge of the window and the edge of the window on this side. And it almost neatly divides it in three pieces. Now, I don't necessarily like to have my pictures in the center. I like to have them on one of the sweet spots. But for us starting out, this is very helpful. It gets us balanced, it gets us on the page. So as we go forward, we will be moving things around. And I kind of cropped it this way purposely so that we could kind of get it, so we could really see it well. Okay, so the first thing we do, take out your sketchbook, and I want you to do it the landscape way, the long way.
And which one's the
And we're going to use the black one. By the way, please leave the first page. Come back to that later on. I would like you to put your name in there. Now, you don't have to put your whole name right there. Put your name in there in some way that people can get in touch with you. Now, I personally have never lost a sketchbook. But we do have somebody in class who had a sketchbook stolen. I was never more proud. But if you happen to lose your sketchbook and you spent a lot of time on the sketchbook, you might like to have it back. So if you happen to be out someplace and you drop it or you forgot it on the table, if you have some way for people to get in touch with you, and I suggest these days, I mean, an email address is about the easiest. Then you can connect with them and you can make sure they're, not some crazy person that just saw you sitting there. So we've got the first page there. So we're going to start landscape, portrait. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define our space. I want you to come in a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of space around the edges. And I suggest you start by just picking a spot. I'm going to pick this spot right here, and I'm going to put a dot. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom and try to kind of line that up and put another dot down there. Now we're going to use these dots to, let me do this. So I'm not standing in front. Does that help? Sorry. Can everybody still see that? Yeah. We're going to use the dots to give us kind of directionality. If we're drawing a line, what do we aim for? Well, in this case, we're going to aim for the dot. So you've got your two dots. So let's slowly try to come down. And don't worry so much if the line gets wobbly or isn't quite as straight as you think it should be. Okay.
Why are we not using a ruler?
You can use a ruler if you want. It's just one more thing for you to carry around with you. And honestly, it looks a little cooler when you do it like this. Then we're going to go on to this side, and we're going to do the same thing. Try to match up those. I'm going to have to stand back a little bit. Yeah. And then we're going to do the same thing, and I'm going to aim for this dot down here. And now we've got dots on the bottom and the top. we just kind of join those ones up. Whoops, well, we'll make that a little longer. And don't be so worried that things aren't working out exactly like you want them to be. Don't worry about that. The idea is that we're having fun. So if the line's a little wonky, a little crooked, the line's a little wonky, a little crooked. All right, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to divide it into thirds, both ways. All right? My suggestion is you kind of do a little sight measurement. So I usually do something like that. Divide it by 3 at the top, and it's just about the same at the bottom. I don't line it up.
Pan of brownies, right?
Pardon me?
Kind of like cutting a pan of brownies.
Kind of like,
Cutting a pan of brownies or something. You know?
Yes,
I
yes.
never thought of it that way.
Oh.
It's perfect.
She'll bring
You should
some
bring some next week.
All right, let's put our lines in.
I don't have it even.
Oh, that's a little wonky. And then I'm going to divide this one the same way.
Yeah.
And we only have 9 people over at our house for dinner. Yes.
So I'm curious,
Yeah.
why you chose portrait instead of landscape?
Well, initially, it wasn't as fat as it is here. So I did it landscape. Now, would you like to do it? Sorry, I didn't portrait. Would you like to do it landscape? You can do it landscape if you want. And if you get the lines on there and you decide you want to turn your book, just go ahead, turn your book and put it on that way. It really is a matter of choice. All right, I'm going to put my lines this way. All right, so we've started. Now is the question. Who's back?
Okay, that's it, she's invited to the class.
Huh?
That's it, she's invited to the class.
Is that a real person? Like,
Yeah, there's more than,
is anybody else here but me?
No, we don't see anything, Chris, sorry. It's every time we get on you now.
Maybe they're working back there. What do you hear? I can see them talking before.
yeah, they were back.
Oh. Maybe that's how she
Came
went
in
up on the
from there.
stage.
Yeah.
and went across.
I didn't want to tell you that while you were teaching. That's how they got in. They started off over there.
I'm sure she'll come down the stage on the other side. Okay. All right.
You're not losing it yet.
We're now going to analyze. So I've drawn the lines on your reference for you already. You can see these lines on either side of the windows. And the roof is really right in the middle of that. And it comes down and crosses that line about, I'm going to say about 2/3 of the way in. So if I go here, oh, wait a second, I knew I was going to forget that. Darn it.
What did you do?
Anybody notice what I forgot?
Extra space at the top.
Yeah.
Christopher.
Pay no attention to these lines. They're not really here.
Something about sharing a page out?
I did that, and I think I wanted to keep it key. So I didn't drop it that way, so I left a little bit at the top. So we just have to put a line at the top and pretend our drawing is now between here and here. So we just put in our 2 other lines for thirds, about like so.
Our thirds in. Well, now you've got 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you could. Okay.
class. That's where we teach you which end of the pencil to use.
I think I've mastered that.
You're way beyond that, I think. All right. Let me go back to where I was. So in the middle of the middle, that's where the peak is. About 2/3 of the way over on either side, that's where the roof comes down to. So we're going to start with that line. We put our dots. We're going to start with that line. Now when we look at that line, we notice there's some width there, but that's underneath the line that we've drawn. We go back to about halfway between here and here. So about halfway, so we're over about 2/3 of the way. We're gonna come back and make it about half. So about there. And then we're gonna put our other dot down here to give us something to aim for. I can't quite tell if I'm in the right spot there, but we'll see. Now we're gonna join those lines together. And we've created the box. Now, granted, my box is a little bit narrower than the one here. Let's let it go somewhere. We now have the big picture on the page. Now we're going to look at some of the medium things that are there. So one of the first things I'm going to do is erase these lines up here because they're a little distracting for me. But if I take a line and very gently go right down the middle of my drawing, so I go right down the middle, everything seems to be divided in half equally. Now, as we look at a reference in front of us, it's very easy to see these things. You need to train yourself to see them when we're out in the wild. So, not to worry so much right now, but keep that in mind. Oh, I notice how the windows are lined up. Oh, that's how I'm going to get them on there. This top window sits on that line, and it comes up a little bit past half. So it's going to sit on this line. It comes up a little bit past half. I'm sorry, I have to get in front here. I'm going to put a couple of dots there. And now we're going to join those dots and bring it down to the line. I think I'm off a little bit there, but that's all right. We'll take a little artistic license. We're not going to do anything else with that because that is a medium-sized detail for now. We're going to leave that sit. We're going to come down here. These windows, oops, let me go back here. The board across the top goes all the way across and all the way across the bottom, but there's a middle orange there that separates the two. Okay? So, it's here, it sits on this line, and it goes up a little bit more than halfway. So let's go up a little bit more than halfway and put a dot there. Put its brother on this side. This line now is connected. There's no gap in between. But there's a gap here and here. Now, I'm going to erase some of these lines so that it gets to be a little easier to see. And please feel free to do that on yours as well. Now, mind you, I'm using charcoal, just so you guys can see what I'm doing. It's hard to, what do I want to say here? It's hard to erase the pencil lines if they're too dark. But I think, you have a light enough line here. So I here. Okay, we now have some medium details. I would like to add this detail here for the roof. So it's gonna come down a little bit, so I'm gonna put a dot there, and it comes over. So it's squared off there. And then we take the end of that to the dot. There's an extra line on either side here. That's that white trim there. That comes down, and it goes right up to the roof. The other thing I'd like to put in at this point is the water line. Now, we do talk a lot about horizon line. There's another art term. Horizon lines are important sometimes, not all the time. In our case right here, the horizon line is probably where we see the water going across. And the horizon line really just essentially means, where was the person standing when they took the picture? Where was their eye level? That's where the horizon line is. So if it was a shorter person, the horizon line would be down a little bit further, or up, depending on which way they took the picture. We're gonna put this horizon line in. It's down a tiny bit on either side. I just wanna have that in there. So I'm gonna choose this amount to be my water line. We're not really gonna see it on that side. And then that means I can take this line out of my way, not to confuse me anymore. Okay, so we've got some medium details. We haven't put the fences in yet, those are more detailed details. We've kind of got things on the page. We've got the big picture, where is it? We've got the medium details, we've got the outlines of the windows, we've got the outline of where the water is. We're gonna kind of figure out where the bottom of the posts are as we go on for the next detail part. But so far, so good. Let's go to the top. So there's a few extra lines in here, and what I do with windows is essentially just put a line to signify where those new extra details are. I'm just going to put a line around it just to give it a little extra white space. Now, there's a lot of detail here. Don't get caught up in too much detail. What happens when we're out sketching is sometimes we like the detail so much, we stop drawing. And we just do or sketching, and we just do the details. And we forget about all the rest of it. Put in as much detail as will get you to the next step. If after you got what I call the details in, and you want to add more, that's the time to add it in. After we've got, so now I put in the panes of the window. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to give it an extra line. And an extra line on either side. I'm going to make mine a little bit wider. Make this go out a little bit. And then we have the same thing here with 3 panes. Now, can we put that in a little more neatly? Of course we can. You can outline the, what do they call those? The stanchions of the windows? So that you have white space in there. Or you can just do it like that. I want you to keep in mind the space that you're using. You're not drawing on a big white piece of paper at the front of the room. You're drawing in your sketchbook. And sometimes too many details get lost. So we have that. Now we want to put in, let's put in this fence on this side. It comes, now there's a little skirt here, and it's kind of hard to see what it is. But I drew it on my other one, just kind of like a little skirt like that. And we're going to darken that down. I'm going to put some lines on there so we know what that is. Because we want this part here to just come into the skirt. That's kind of the edge of the wharf, or the edge of the dock. And then we're going to put in our posts on top of that, but they're going to be below the water line. So there's 2 posts. And you can draw the horizontal post coming into this one, but not going too far. And put a little kind of half circle there to signify that that's what's going on. So it'll take a little time, make them a little more even than it appears those are. Oh my goodness, those are way up. And they do come down a little bit into this dock here. Yep.
Or you want, I just wondered if you could take a peek at this.
Yep.
It seems, I don't know, is this supposed to be good? That's the edge of the,
That's the edge, so you can move this over a little bit.
and then this side?
Yep, you can move, you can go over top of your line.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if you've got to the point where it looks like you've filled up our new drawing space, and we still have more things that you want to put in there, go over top of the line that you made. Erase that line. You know, it's just there as a guide for us. So you can take this line right out if you want, and go right over top. Yeah, good point. On this side, we have the same thing. Now, it's about here, on this one. That's about the bottom of that deck there. We don't really see the water. We do, but we don't. So I'm going to take the water out of there on mine and put in a few posts. Not going to worry too much whether my posts are exact. It's really the top of the staircase. And the staircase we're going to put in just with lines. So I was standing in front of that, I apologize. So what I did was I just came across here and brought the line. Those are now my the runners for the stairs. I put a post here on a bit of an angle, and then just joined it from the top. Again, this is very small. So we're right in this area here. Very small. We're not going to see it too well in our sketch. But we want to put it in there because it's a nice detail. And then we have these posts out front. Now there are 4 posts out front. You can put in 6, you can put in 3. And these are actually, they're actually about the same size as all the other ones. So you may, and in my case I will, have to come down a little bit below where I thought I was going to be. Now I'm not going to spend too much time getting worried about whether or not I have them in the right spots. To me, I just like the detail, and I'm going to try to kind of evenly space them. On the bottom of these, I'm going to put a little kind of squiggle to kind of signify that they're sitting on the ground here. And I'm gonna take my line right out there.
Are you gonna put in the bench? There's a bench there.
So there is. I did not see the bench, Nancy. Please, put in a bench. That's pretty cool, I didn't notice that.
Right in front of the building.
I've lowered my, my post down, by the way. You could put them top over top. I kinda like them down here because then I can see them a little better. But yeah, there is a bench right in here somewhere. Good eye. There is one other detail that I want to put in, just because I think it's kind of cool. And that's this, this light here and this light here. They're just kind of cool details. I don't know if you can see them really well on your reference, but they're just like the old-fashioned green bell lights. So it's a circle, and it just comes out, and it comes kind of like that. And it's a nice detail. Is it exactly where it's supposed to be? Probably not. But I want to make sure I put it in there. Whoops. So now the rest of this behind is that mountain there. Which we're going to deal with later. I'm going to take out some of my lines, so there's not too much there confusing me. It goes a little bit longer on the top and the bottom. On both of these. Now, the next part is, I like to do it, but it's optional. We're now at the point where we're at the fine details, and so the fine detail is going to include the lines that are around the roof, and there's a little finial on top there, plus these lines going through. Now, I'd like to put those in because that's going to alert me to where I want to put some more pigment. So if you want to, and this is only by eye, I'm going to do it, I'm going to put these lines in. It'll make more sense when we start putting some color on. And don't worry too much if they're, not exactly evenly spaced. They're close. And I know I say that a lot, but trust me, when we put the color on, it's really going to start to look cool, and you're not going to need to worry. You won't even notice. So I put that in. Take a little dashes out of here. And then I'm going to put an extra line up here. And I'm a little wonky there today, but there we go. Okay. So if you were able to stay with me and got to this point, it's time to get up and walk around a little bit. We have been sitting here for almost an hour. So please get up, take your water barrel brush, fill it up with some water, and we will come back in about 5 minutes to put some color on here, and let me give you a quick little color chart theory, reason why we have that. Yeah, that's it for now. Yep. So continue doing what you're doing. or get up and take a break. If you feel comfortable, leave your work out and share it with what you're doing with other people. Okay. We are about to begin with our watercolors. Now, I am using watercolor out of a tube only because there isn't enough pigment on the watercolor sets that you guys are using for me to do this up here. So I have to use a little bit more so I can get a little bit more. These watercolor sets, yes, they are kid sets. These are the actual sets that I take with me when I go on trips. So, and my wife is in the room, you can ask her. Sometimes I actually, well, not sometimes, every time we go someplace, I find a dollar store in that country, and I usually buy a paint set there in that country. But yeah, these are the exact ones I take. They last about a sketchbook, and I'm not really concerned if I lose them or if they break or something happens. They're only a couple of bucks. You know, we don't have to be, when we're on our trip, we're more concerned with having fun doing our trip than we are worrying about our, you know, $80 watercolors that we brought with us. So that's why I take them. Not to say that you shouldn't, because I do have other watercolor sets that I use when I'm around here. Certainly, you know, do your own thing. But this is fast, it's easy, and it's inexpensive. So I use these so that I can show you things and get more color and light into what we're doing. So we're going to start with the background. So the background here is a light blue. And remember, we put the horizon in here, or the edge of the water. That's going to be a darker blue down here. Okay? So if we look at our reference, this white and blue up here is going to be our light blue wash. This part down here is going to be our dark blue. Now I think these are new sets, and I haven't actually used these ones, but we have a few more colors on here. We've got like 4 more colors than we had on the last one. So I think we have a light blue and a dark blue in there. By the way, that little brush in there is really a nice little brush. If you want to kind of like hang on to it and do like, you know, when you're at home in the studio, you know, it's a nice little one to use. Okay, so I'm going to start. And what I want to do is I want to take a little bit of pigment and put it in another spot. So I'm going to pretend that where that round part is where your pigment is. I'm going to put a little pigment in the cover. The cover is going to be your mixing tray. And then we're going to add a lot of water. So I have to go to the water jar there to get water. But we want it to be really watery. Yes. Oh, you know what? Before we start, I'm sorry, I forgot this. Please go and get yourself a couple pieces of paper towel. You're going to want to use that to clean your brush in between colors. So you squeeze out the water into the paper towel and kind of rub your brush, and then you know it's clean again. And if it's too water and you put it on there and it's going everywhere, take the paper towel and you can blot it off if you do it quickly enough. And you can move it around and change it. Once it dries, though, you can't move it easily. I'm starting with light blue. You don't want it to be thick. You don't want it to be the blue that comes out of the paint tray. You want it to be watery looking. So we're going to take that, and we're going to start at the top. Now for me, this is going to be a little tricky because the paint always runs all over the place when I do this. So I'm going to try not to do that this time. But we're going to start at the top and just add some blue spots here and there. Remember, because we're looking at our reference, and the reference has a lot of white in it. So we want this blue to be there, but we don't want all blue. Now, I will suggest to you that you try to round the brush strokes that you're putting in. I'm getting all kinds of charcoal in mine, but that usually is what happens in mine. But make sure you're leaving white spots, because there are white spots. Now, again, you don't want to leave white spots? Don't leave white spots. You are the artist. You get to decide how that looks.
Chris, because I had to start a second time in the other book, the sketch is not completely finished. If I paint it, am I able to draw on top of that painting or not?
Yes, but you must wait till it completely dries. If it's a little bit damp, you're not gonna be able to even use a marker on it, it won't work. So let it dry out well.
Thank you.
Then we're gonna take our darker blue and do the same thing. We don't need as much of this one, just a little bit of darker blue, but we're gonna do a wash again, as washy as we can be. And that's gonna go down in this area down here. Now I'm going right over top of everything. Because I want that in my background. So wherever that line is, it's kind of right in here. And I'm gonna blot, for me, I'm gonna blot it out because I don't want it as dark as mine turned out to be. But you can certainly make yours as dark or as light as you think you'd like it to be. Now, I'm gonna say to you, please not to blot up the blue that you have there. Even if you've already done it, that's okay, you can make some more. But we're gonna be using some of this blue in a few minutes. So the next thing to do is the next brightest color, and that's the orange. Now, I will say to you, oops, well, I knew that was gonna happen. Let me try that again. That's a little muddy.
So did you, were you putting that blue on over the fence? Did you put it on the fence?
That's where-
The darker blue?
Yes.
Just the way it was?
I did, we're gonna add brown over top of where the fence is.
And that's what we do, we go right over top of here.
You don't have to, but for such a small painting. So now we're doing the same thing with our orange, and making an orange wash. Keeping in mind that there are parts on here that are supposed to be white. So the trim around the edge is supposed to be white. Looks like I'm getting more of a yellow color here. Remember when you put it on too, to bear in mind the lines of intention. So this siding doesn't go back and forth, it goes up and down. So you want to put this on up and down. I seem to be a little too light on this. Don't forget that spot in the middle. Here. So once you have that on, we're gonna let it sit for a second. I want you to go to the brown. And we're gonna take the brown right off the palette. And that's going to be for our fence. And we're gonna go over top of what's already there. And it's gonna make it look quite dark. But remember, we're working with watercolors. And they tend to lighten up. I have a feeling I didn't get brown here. Oh, yeah. So we're gonna do all of our posts. Maybe a little bit for our, whatever's in between, our chain or our rope, whatever that is. We're not going to do any of the dark areas in brown or black. We don't want to do that. We don't want it to look like that. We might take a little bit of brown and do a little bit on the bottom. Kind of just put some lines in there to signify where the ground is. All underneath here though is in shadow. So when we put things in shadow, if we use black, we will flatten everything. What we want to do is use kind of a neutral, shadowy kind of color. We're going to wait a little bit to do that. Once we have that,
Sorry.
once we have that,
Can you just back up the brown stuff again? Like,
say that again?
what you did with the brown there?
Yep,
You were standing first.
I was standing in front of it. So I took it directly from the palette
Okay.
and put it on the posts. Over top, just put it right over top of it. Yep.
Want that to be watery.
Under it, it's behind the book that.
Yeah, so I put a little bit on the ground to kind of signify where the ground is. A little bit on the posts themselves, a little bit on the rope or whatever that is there.
So how come you went orange? I just sprayed it in here.
Yep, well, I mean, put a little water on it. Yeah, you may end up having to fill your brush again, depending on where you are, you know. Okay. So the next step is to put in the darker lines. So that's why I had you draw those other lines in with your pencil. That's what we're going to take our brush, go directly to the palette, put some paint on your brush, then we're just going to draw a line where we have our lines. And let it get really nice and dark there.
Orange first?
And of course, I'm standing in front of you again, aren't I?
Are you suggesting orange again for that?
Pardon me?
Are you suggesting orange again for that?
Yes, but directly from the palette this time, not washed at all. So what we were going for there was a contrast between the darker bits and then the lighter orange as the part of the background for it. this point. The next thing we wanna do is put in the dark areas, but we're not using black, we're gonna use purple. So from your palette, mix a little bit so that it's just a little bit of a wash. Not a lot, but just so you have some nice movement. And that's gonna go in our windows. And try to do them individually. Unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to see this too well because of the charcoal. But I'm putting the purple in behind all of this. That's where my shadows are. And I'm doing that in purple. So this is going to be a really fast breakdown of the color wheel, and we're not talking about mixing here. Okay, I'm sure you all know the color wheel. They teach it ad infinitum at school. Every time you take a class, every year, oh yeah, we gotta learn the color wheel again. So part of that is to learn how to mix colors. And we know the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. And from those, we get all the other colors. But the color wheel is also a tool to help us do things. And in our case right now, what we need to do is we need to add some shadow at the top where the roof comes over and it's in the orange part. But as we're looking at that, that looks like it's a little bit orange there, it's just in shadow. Well, how do we do that? That's where the color wheel comes in handy. If you want to do a shadow that will be in the similar vein of the color that's there, go to the color that's opposite it on the color wheel. So if we come over here, and I know it's back a little bit, let me pull it up a bit. If my building was red, for me to have a shadow, I would need to use green in the shadow, and the green will mix with the red and make it a nice, reddy shadow. Our case, it's orange. We're going to put some blue in there, which is why I said, hang on to your blue. So, which one of these is blue? I'm going to take a little bit of my lighter blue that I put into a wash. Oops. Let me go to the actual sketch. And I'm going to put that in here. Now, I don't know if you can see that from back there, but it's creating a shadow, and the shadow is still in the orange. That's a bit too much. In the orange vein. This one got a little bit too blue. We'll use the color wheel for.
Is that
So
dark
not
blue?
only,
Is that the dark blue? Light blue, okay.
saying what?
It's okay, her question was
Oh,
answered.
Speak loudly.
I just wondered, is it dark blue or light blue that you put?
I use the light blue,
The light blue, okay.
yeah.
Did you put it over the whole house or just up at
No, just up here. Just,
Oh, you want to get shadow up there?
yeah. Now, I know you guys are probably gonna be able to do a much better job than I am. It's difficult sometimes up here where stuff starts to run. And you can see that it's created a little bit of a shadow. This is something that you need to experiment with. Take your time with it. A little bit of blue, while it's still damp, will create a nice little shadow in there. Not doing it for you? So, put a little on, and that's those little lights, and they're green. So, what kind of face is that? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Lisa. I didn't realize that. I apologize. Oh, now I feel bad. So, absent the face, we're going to put some green on those lights. Choose whichever green you want, but just make sure you use the same green for both of them. It can be, I kind of look at this and I kind of see it as a lighter green, but you may see it as a bit of a darker green. And we're not really going to try to blend it and try to, you know, a little bit lighter here, a little bit darker there. It's a very small detail, but it is a cool detail to have. We are at the point now where we have our color on the page. We have all the areas and all the details that we can do for now on the page. The next step is not a step that we can do right now. The next step is we wait for this to dry, and then we take our fine marker and we outline everything. It will make the whole sketch pop off the page. And you can add little bits of detail like the chain inside the darker color here. You can add little bits of things here, especially on the stairway here and the wood, darker and lighter. And down the bottom here. If we look at our reference, on the bottom, it really looks like gravel. Well, if you take your fine marker and you put a whole bunch of little dots in there, you're going to have something that looks, or approximates, shall we say, gravel. Okay? So when you are finished with what you're working on, what I'd like you to do is come over and get some wax paper. You don't need a whole lot, you know, about this much, and fold it to fit the page. Put it on top of your sketch with the water. Then you can close your book or turn to the next page without worrying that the watercolor is going to get all over the rest of the pages or the page above it. This will protect it, and you can leave it in there until it dries. I would recommend that you keep a little bit of wax paper in the back of your sketchbook all the time, so that when you're out and you put some color on, now you can protect it until you get home, or, I mean, just protect it in general, so that you can get it home. So there's, I think this is wax paper, I think, is that parchment paper? Yeah, there's also parchment paper, so 6 of one, half dozen of the other, they're, you know, either one. But come on over and get some. White is the white of the page. You may have seen in my sketch kit that I do have a little white brush in there. If you have a white, it only works if you put it over top of a dark. So if we left this white and we want to paint white over top of it, it's not really gonna come out looking very good. You might put some white chalk on there, that might make a difference. But if you want this to come out whiter looking, maybe paint it orange. And then when it's dry, go back over it with the white brush, and the chalk brush. To make it look, it'll then pop out as being white. Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Designed myself.
Okay.
So these are 300 GSM paper in there. They are stitch bound. They are archival, and they transport really well. So you can put anything you want in them. It won't leak through. If we're not too crazy with our watercolors, it doesn't bubble up. So yeah, you can buy them from me. I only have, since I bought them just before COVID, I didn't have a chance to sell them anywhere, maybe 5,000 or 6,000. If you'd like to buy a couple or more.
The one with the pencil case she's talking about.
Yeah, I have a hard time.
The one with the zebra on the front of it?
Yes,
That you got at the Dollarama?
that came with the kit. I did have two things for us to do today. We have 15 minutes. I'm not going to rush us through this second one. You do have the reference. Maybe if you want, you can try it on your own. You don't have to. We will go over this reference next time. But I don't think that we should zoom into this. I think this has been a good introduction, get us all started, and get us all thinking about things. And so we'll get on to the more,
So we're gonna work on the rest of that next year.
no, this one's done.
I thought we were gonna outline it. We can do that at home.
You're gonna do that at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the outlining part, once it's dry at home, that's your part to do.
All right.
And then bring it back and show me, and I'll give you a check mark and maybe there's a little sticker on that. But this one, I got it here, we'll work on next week. It'll be one of the ones that I have for next week. So you can see on this one that the rock star is now right on one of those rules of third lines. And in fact, it crosses. So that's exactly where we want it to be, and it actually feels pretty good for like kind of a landscape. Wow, that's really kind of cool. The other thing to pay attention to is where the horizon line is, which is actually at the horizon. So this person must have been standing up on a hill back here in order for his eye level, or her eye level. That was me, I'm pretty sure it was me.
So why do you need to take photography? You're doing great.
The other thing is, if you do try this, the grass, I would suggest you put in as single blades of grass and then put green over top of it. But put the grass in from the ground up, not from the air down. You start at the bottom, it's a thicker line. As you go up, the line becomes thinner. And so you can put it in kind of like, where's my marker?
Chris, you normally do it.
Kind of like this. Right? And then maybe put something on the bottom to hold everything in place. That kind of thing. Yes?
The squares on there, I always thought the squares had to be exactly the same size through the whole thing. But some of these are longer than others, and it's a new rule.
You didn't get your artistic license the last time, did you?
I got it too.
That's essentially what we're doing. We're taking artistic license. So yes, some of them are a little bit bigger and some of them are a little bit smaller. When you're out in the wild, we're not that exact. So we're kind of practicing that. But it's a very good question because sometimes I do that because I think I like it that way.
I remember when I was in grade 8, we had to do a map of the world. I wonder if it's these squares.
Really?
That was interesting.
That's called reading.
That was
That's
a solid
a
reading.
That's a painter thing.
Oh, you're talking about transfer?
Yeah.
Next week, we'll try to get through 2. Yeah, keep the references.
Are we doing this next week or not?
Yes, we are going to do that next week. I will tell you, if you draw things more than once, the second time is better. And don't forget of the, I should write it here, the daily drawing challenge on Facebook.
They have like 3 different, pages you can go to too. That's one. I like that one.
You know what he says about you, this is what you're saying. Can't help it, that's his.
Don't talk too much.
You know, you feel good, how's that?
Daily drawing, not the daily drawing challenge. If you go to the daily drawing challenge, it's a different one. And this one has,
Oh, they gotta go to the feature though, and make sure you click on feature when you go there. Cause feature will have the daily picture.
Next week, the creek don't rise or something?
Oh.
Sun don't shine.